I know there's no perfect way to do this intro. We're usually up. It's usually a good time. Yesterday was really tough. Obviously, there was the devastating news of the helicopter crash in Calabasas where 9 lives were lost, including Kobe Bryant's and Gigi Bryant's. And then there were the Grammys last night in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. And, you know, among the celebratory things were 2 Grammy wins for Nipsey Hussle and a bunch of our friends, honestly. You know, our first friend in this business, Steve Carless, won some Grammys last night, and I want to be up for him. But at the end of the day, Nipsey's not there, right? And it's like all these emotions coming together, and I don't know how to feel. I don't know that anybody knows how to feel. And all I do know is that I'm happy that I fell asleep last night. I'm happy that I woke up this morning. And I'm happy that you guys all woke up this morning, because you just don't know. And if there's anything that this podcast can provide, and maybe there's a couple things, maybe one is a chance to get away from this mix of emotions, but another thing is that we want to celebrate people while they're here and their work ethic and their wins and their paths to today, because it is worth it, and they are worth it, and we're all worth it. And we have a good one today. And I do hope that you guys can enjoy it. Maybe today's not the day to enjoy it. Maybe tomorrow is. Or maybe next week is. But I am glad that we got to sit down with our friend Jonathan Mannion last week. And I am glad that we got to talk about things that he's never talked about before. And we got down to things on a really human level, because he's lived a really, really, really good life so far. So today I don't know what we do. Mourn, celebrate, somewhere in between. I'm not sure. And maybe we don't figure it out today, but that's all right. In the meantime, we're going to leave you with this episode. Jonathan Mannion. A waste of time with It's The Real. Love to you all. Jeff, when?
Right now.
Jonathan, you good?
Check. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Just in
good.
life, you good? Yeah.
I'm good, I think. I think I'm good. It's, depends on the day you ask me.
Yeah, sure.
Whether
Yeah.
I'm good or not. But,
well, I'm glad we asked today.
Today's a decent day.
That's good.
So far, so good.
That's good. All right. Ready?
Yo, what up, it's Eric, a.k.a. Retro Ones, a.k.a. Getting My Bread Right. Yo, what up, it's Chef, a.k.a. 36 in the karate class, a.k.a. White Truth.
Good day, I'm Jonathan.
Yes, your third favorite podcast, Waste Time with It's The Real. Jonathan, what's happening?
Man, everything is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm on the Upper West Side again.
It's
hanging
always
out with
nice.
y'all.
Always good.
I'm back. I was invited back to the dance, man. So I'm honored to be here for the second time.
Yes.
On the mighty cast.
Well,
delivering some knowledge.
Yeah, no, for real. It's a pleasure every time we link up. It's always great to see you. We saw you last night at the opening of the New York version of the Contact High exhibit. We have one of your pieces of us on our wall, which means the world to us.
We also have one next to our wall.
That's right, yeah.
It's like
it is
sitting on
leaning
the ground.
against a
Be
wall.
on the floor, pull it out from behind the couch
Yeah.
and make an appearance.
But
just because I'm coming over.
Yeah, we also have this one.
but we are
do it all the time. I always see like sort of my pictures on the floor, and I always have that same commentary. Like,
But we're curious, what do you have on your walls at home?
you know, oddly enough, I have none of my own work on the wall.
well,
there was
who's-
one Aaliyah photo on the wall for a long time, and then I donated it
Wow.
to a charity auction.
But whose work do you have on your walls?
So I have a few Cartier-Bresson prints. I have a couple Peter Beards. Michael Hallspan is a crazy picture of Shaban Ranks. I used to work for him.
Wow.
This beautiful 8x10.
What's the layout of your place so that people like who want to rob you?
Yeah.
Can get better
Well,
access.
When
Yeah.
are you at home
My
typically, when you're
address-
not? Yeah.
I have a 2-bed, 2-bath. Well, look.
Going back a bit, how did you first meet and get involved with Richard Avedon?
I went to Kenyon College in the years prior. Avedon chose to employ people from various years there. So there was already a relationship with the university that, you know, people were more well-rounded. It wasn't just like straight photo geeks coming in. And it was like you could speak about literature and this and history and current events and politics and whatever. And I think he liked to have that represent him and Avedon and his worldly sort of nature based on his experiences and who he'd met along the way. So when I was looking to graduate, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then there was an opportunity to interview with him. I didn't get the job at first, but I was in the door. And then I interviewed maybe 2 or 3 months afterwards and ended up getting the job. So this was my first job out of college, and it was based on Kenyon giving Avedon an honorary degree to say thank you for loving and embracing our students that have come out. And it was, you know, just a really rich relationship. And so I worked with him. My commitment was a year. And
What'd you do for him?
everything. Like, hey, run across the park and come set my table. I'm having a party tonight. You need
Sure.
some, you know, bottles opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry him up the stairs. Like,
Were you good at that?
I was fantastic at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was the lowest person on the totem pole for sure. I was.
Well, how
the
many
guy
people
that-
were on his team?
So he had, you know, agent, personal assistant, somebody that was doing print sales, and then he had four assistants when I started. And I was brought in because I knew how to handle art. My parents are artists and painters, and so like I grew up handling art and knowing how to meticulously and carefully, you know, handle it. So he was hanging his show at the Whitney, doing a retrospective. So I was brought
Here in New York.
really in New York.
Yeah.
hmm And so I was really brought in to assist in that process, and then kind of like moved into third position, which was on set, loading 8x10 film, you know, in a black box almost all day, loading frantically while he's shooting Versace campaigns.
At
then
what
being
point-
on set, loading and picking Naomi Campbell up naked from, you know, rolling around in the sand and holding brambles around Christy Turlington's naked body, like, you know, just like, hey, her arms are tired, hold these. And I'm just like, they're like 3 inches away trying to just behave myself as a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
I was
you
going to
know,
say,
boy.
I was going to
moving
say,
into the
at
city
what
from
point
the
are you
Midwest.
just like, what the fuck? But clearly, it's one of those times.
No, it's what the fuck? Like, holy shit, this is my life. Like, this is a job. Like, I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
And to be around this. And you know, I think the biggest reward was I saw the biggest jobs in the world, right, happening in real time. And I got to see it from, you know, from inception to completion, you know, with a very old school mentality. You
Yeah.
know, this wasn't sort of, you know, you're turning in the LaCie rugged drive at the end of the shoot and walking away. This is like retouching, airbrushed retouching, shooting 8x10 film, having to like, you know, his turnaround was crazy. We were like flying back and forth.
Well, even
the
back
lab.
then? Because like now everything
Oh,
is so
yeah.
instantaneous. Back then you were still operating on that sort
We
of time.
were getting the stuff turned around as fast as possible. So we had shot the first shot, and I was sprinting to the lab to be able to process it in real time. 2 hours later, it was back to us.
How
So he
frustrating was
shutting
it for
down
you to
the
be
whole
like,
labs.
oh, Vogue is coming out in 6 months?
No, I mean, I don't think there was any, there was no time to be frustrated about anything. You know what I mean? It was, you know, you realize very quickly that this is like a dream job.
Yeah.
You know, and as like, you know, I was the smallest little guppy growing into the biggest pool.
Well, so
know?
you said that you got turned down at first for the job.
I wasn't technical enough. He was looking for a technically really sound person. And, you know, I went to just a liberal arts college. I was a psychology and art major. And so like, the technical component of photography really came once I got here, and in real time learning the cameras. And, I had a basic understanding, like logically I can reason out how I think something should happen. And, I'm analytical, so I can break down the steps, but, I don't know the chemical makeup of Dectol,
When you're 21 coming to New York City, fresh out of college, and you're going to go work with a master, were you living in the city? Were you living around the city?
No, I lived in the city. Oddly, I lived on the Upper West Side.
Oh, crazy.
I lived on 72nd and Riverside.
It's
That's
not
awesome.
that weird. It's not weird up here.
Yeah, nobody really does that, I mean, nobody cool anyway.
Yeah.
It's like people who have like art on the floor, you know what I mean? Living like college students.
But you're at the Whitney,
Yeah.
seemingly like at night, right?
Sure, yeah.
To hang up his show. Is that wild to you? Were you like caught up in it?
No, I was such a hip hop head that was sort of like, okay, this is my job.
Right. And then
what
you
I
had
do,
a life
even though I
outside
knew
of that.
it was a dream, and I knew that, I quickly realized that the information that I was gaining at Avedon, technically, to like know my craft, it was never a fake it till you make it. It was
Right.
learn it, know it, apply it, And then I applied it to what I loved. And, I did college radio for 4 years at Kenyon.
Yep.
Big up WKCO 91.9. Cool DJ Johnny M. Still in the mix.
Wow.
I
feel like I'm there.
I love radio.
Yeah.
I am there. I got chills. I'm back. I transported. But that's what built my knowledge and love for music. It was Big Daddy Kane. It was Kool Moe Dee. It was Slick Rick. It was DOC. It was NWA. Ice-T.
Yeah.
That was this really golden era. Truly, like that.
Who was
moment for
passing
me.
you music, or like how were you discovering music?
It was in high school, really. So it was probably like, I don't know, 80, 87, 88 probably. I remember this gentleman named Terrell Turk, who went to Xavier. I don't know what happened to him afterwards, but he, one of those yellow Walkmen that click.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was like, yo, here, listen to this. And it was like Dana Dane Nightmares, Kool Moe Dee, Go See the Doctor, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I was the kid that was like the alternative, sort of music, like.
You were listening to
fiend.
REM.
I was listening, no. I was listening to, and not much better what I'm going to tell you, but I mean, Depeche Mode, obviously, one of the greatest bands of all time. Certainly my favorite in my book.
Yeah.
Above all rap and hip hop and reggae and
Wow.
R&B, like they're phenomenal to me. Like it was just
Yeah,
that
but name
moment
something
of,
not cool that you were listening to.
Look, but I still think they're cool. But you could say like Yaz or the Communards,
Okay.
or House Martins, The Cure, New Order. Like I was, Morrissey and the Smith. I mean, and none of that is not cool.
Right.
No.
Right.
Even now, it's still super compelling. Even though
It might be like even cooler now.
Yeah,
actually.
it actually paints a
Kinda.
picture of you as sort of like this very like dark,
Yeah, I was probably like the emo kid. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I was figuring it out. But music to me all the way throughout life has always been about discovery. For me, it's like, and I grew up in such a beautiful time because I knew, I saw the first video on MTV. Like I was there in real time watching the video, and then all of the 80s crap music from Milli Vanilli in real time, Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk in real time. To be able to see music from that broad scope and to see where it is now, to have a really valid and valuable, I feel, perspective on music and what's good and bad. Like I really do have a perspective.
Yeah.
Which I, really enjoy celebrating and love all kinds of music.
Did you always want to move to New York?
So my dad is from Brooklyn, so there was always a fascination with the city and how it moved and the pulse.
And what brought your dad out to Cleveland?
My dad was in New York, in Brooklyn, on 3rd Street, and he then was in Toronto and Philly for work. He worked for Firestone. Mm-hmm. He was, I guess in the end, like the national controller of their credit card division. So he's a numbers guy.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't.
Today that'd be known as a scammer.
It could very well be. Yes, quite possibly. Yeah, I'm sure he's ruined a couple things. But what's fascinating is like I would do my summer jobs there and learn about credit. you know? And I was like, my God, these people can't even buy tires because they're delinquent, you know, for 60 days. I'm like, basic necessity. I was like, oh, okay, this is important to get your credit right. And thank God, I mean, I've run my whole company off of, you know, an Amex since 97.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, just like any amount can go on it as long as you can pay it at the end of the month, which is always a scramble around the 23rd for anybody.
Sure.
Any independent business owner and certainly anybody in the arts.
Cleveland is a company town. Firestone is in Cleveland.
Yeah, so he got transferred then from Philly. My mother's from London, so my dad met my mom in the service, you know, when he was over there at some, you know, dance that everybody puts on, you know, all the American soldiers come in, you know. And my dad doesn't really, he's an artist. He doesn't really talk about this. I'd never know like kind of what he did or how long he was in it. But he served him at my mom and, you know, he's like, hey, what are you doing for the rest of your life? You want to kind of come and hang out with me?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And it was Toronto and Philly first. And then I was conceived in Philly, so I got a lot of love for Philly.
Yeah.
You know, that was
that's where you get your soul from.
Big up Beanie Siegel Freeway. What's up? See? Mill.
And you grew up in Cleveland.
And then I grew up in Cleveland, you know, born and raised and, you know, suburbs of Cleveland. Like you don't choose where you're, you know, coming up exactly as a youth.
What were you into when you were young?
I was a big sports guy, man. I played soccer and tennis, you know. But I wasn't like really of Cleveland in many ways. I do love the city. I love the pace at which I grew up. It wasn't everything just crammed down your throat and, you know, it's just, you know, you're going and, you know, cruising around on your bike and it was super safe and, you know, it was a fantastic way to come up.
Yeah.
But I was always fascinated by like the inner city pulse. I went to school, a school called Ignatius downtown, and it was in the roughest, you know, sort of one of the roughest neighborhoods on the west side of Cleveland. And, you know, we were fighting all the time or like, you know, being chased around because, you know, we weren't welcome. A bunch of little prep school kids, you know, all boys high school.
But there was never a chance you were going to be a company man, stay in town and... You know,
I was, you know, people ask like, well, okay, what would you be doing if you didn't do photography? Like something maybe in the arts, you know, I always thought sort of maybe advertising. But I'm also like, you know, early on it was like, maybe I'll get into like hotel management or something. Like I liked that. I liked the traveling aspect and traveling with my parents around, but also going back and forth to London. There was always an intrigue in this other personal space that you could rent anywhere in the world. Yeah. You know?
By the way, that sort of explains why you were into like The Cure and like that sort of music, because I'm guessing you got that from being over there, maybe visiting, or was it through MTV because they were being played so heavy?
No, I in high school, I ran with like a pack of Filipinos. And it was just like, you know, playing tennis really, I think was it. It was like...
The tennis got you into The Cure?
Yeah. You know, in some ways, it's like that's what, you know, everybody was listening to, you know, within that space. My friend, you know, one of my dearest friends, Brian Solerio, he was just like, yo, here's new music, here's this. So it was just constantly absorbing and going to, you know, sort of different dances. And also downtown Cleveland, there was a club called The Lift that was like a perfect balance between, you know, at that time it was like Nine Inch Nails and The Cure and sort of the rougher side of the alternative scene, and then Public Enemy and like, you know, some like hype kind of almost house kind of vibes. And I found out that I had the rhythm package, man. So I was like the dude in the middle of the circle, not as a b-boy, but just as like, you know, my super white version of Scoob and Scrap Lover. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like sliding through legs and jumping.
Oh my God.
Like hop, you know, like, which is just like total, like I look back and it must be hilarious. Like if there's any video that exists in services, I may lose my entire pass, you know? But, you know, I loved it. And it was just one of these like pure compulsions to chase it, to discover it, to understand it. And that was found, you know, at these clubs in downtown and inner city. And then as I got heavier sort of into it, you know, it was sort of at Kenyon, which obviously is like trees and farmland. There's no stoplight in our town, you know? So like we created our own fun. So it was constantly going to Cleveland, getting all the latest tunes, bringing them down. Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, you know, like Delights, you know, the remix with Tip on, like it was, we were the ones that were throwing the parties. So like anybody, you know, when you weren't busy hugging a tree in Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
You know, you were at one of the parties, like sweating through layers. Like we were about it, man. It was incredible.
All these years later, you've traveled the world. You've been, on mountaintops actually quite recently. You've been to exotic locales. You've lived in the city for a long time. When you go back to Cleveland, what do you love about Cleveland? But beyond the pace, is it the people or the food or the culture?
Look, I go back to the family home that I grew up in. The fact that my parents are still here at age 83 and 4 is the biggest gift in my life, because they're phenomenal people, like really brilliant, so sweet. Like you learn the cloth that you're cut from. And I'm so glad that I have a story that, almost feels a little different from a lot of people, sort of in some of the worlds that I've traveled. It's like, I don't really talk to my dad, or, past at a young age or something. Like to have that stability and understanding of unconditional love, like really does make me more of a whole person, and not to be sort of as a diss to anybody else's experience, because there's a lot of beautiful, brilliant, whole people out there,
Yeah, for sure.
But for me, that's the biggest reward, going back to something that truly is home, and I think that's the biggest gift. And I go back and I'm like really just myself. Look, I'm never not myself as I walk around, but, sometimes you do have to become different versions of yourself.
Sure.
Like at the Contact High show last night, I was in Spin Cycle, receiving thanks and, verbal goat emojis. And
for sure.
I'm so grateful for all of that, but that does require a different level of attention or engagement with an audience.
Yeah.
Whereas home, I'm like, there's deer in my backyard and I'm, driving to the mall to walk around and reminisce, like, just like.
So your parents don't come up to you and say like you're the goat?
Yeah, they do often. Usually manifest as like, we're so proud of you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We're so glad that you made it. Like,
Do they have any Jonathan Mannions framed at home?
They do, but it's not sort of like, we don't have DMX in the blood like in our living room.
Why not?
I know.
Get a print?
I said the
Is it
same
in the
thing.
dining room?
Yeah.
It is. No, there's an Avedon in the house that
Wow.
Avedon gave me,
Wow.
which is in my bedroom. But a lot of it is sort of, the B-roll kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like a little African kid in Gouda in France that just had the most beautiful face. That's like, oh, here's a little Christmas gift. Like, oh wow, this is amazing, and it goes up somewhere. Or like an overlook from, a hotel in Paris that shows, the Louvre or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's that kind of they're more like thoughtful kind of moments,
Yeah.
but
don't you
there's
think-
a lot of paintings up, obviously my parents are big collectors
Yeah.
of art, because it inspires them to have it around as artists. So
Um,
there's not a lot of wall space.
do you think that
So my stuff at my house, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah, no.
is also on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm good. I'm used to the placement.
Do you think that celebrity, because you're talking about the little African boy in France, and it's like, do you think that celebrity inherently makes photos more interesting, or is it just like...
Look, I've been thinking a lot about this, because there is, sort of a new wave of photographers that are coming in, and it's really based on who they shoot. So I'm trying to reinforce that my pictures are about how I shoot, who I shoot.
Man.
Which is it's important to make that, sort of like separation of being a professional photographer, being able to do it over and over every single day, whether you're on or off, and delivering something that's of, superior quality,
Thank you for giving such a thoughtful answer to what was a very ham-fisted way of asking that question. I was like, I don't know how to put the words together. And meanwhile, like, that's my job.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be able to do
You're
that.
the word guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just the
It's
shooter.
fine. I'm going to re-record this afterwards.
Yeah, okay. And just come up with a better question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? Do yourself a favor, man.
I was reading up on Avedon this morning, and I found a quote that really stuck out to me, which was, "Sometimes I think all my pictures are just pictures of me."
Oh man, and that's really deep.
Yeah.
Because I can see myself in every one of my photos.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's totally the truth. I mean, as crazy and wild, but it is, that's the gift. It's like, it's how you see that person and how you want to bring that person to the world, a world of people that admire, celebrate, worship, obsess over whoever this star X is. You know what I mean? And how do you bring that to them when they may never meet this person? How do I get the truth of that person, or at least something that's authentic, that doesn't make them a character, that makes them also the character that they would like to be or become, Like, so it's like the psychology of it is really, really deep. But, I just try and stay as rooted in authenticity and truth of the exchange. I'm really there talking to them constantly to try and break down the guards to really get in. And that's my job. Like, get in as fast as possible. I guess you got to pause it. We're in New York. Get in as fast as possible to the soul of that person. You know what I mean?
Was there a point when you were younger when you figured out, when the light switch went off, when you were like, oh, it is what I bring to the table too. It is that balance.
There's definitely been, after 25 years in this, I've done some heavy analysis of like sort of, okay, what's my process? And also teaching. Obviously, that's a new role. It's like mentoring and guiding the next generation towards the truth of their experience as photographers and shooters, right? But there was one sort of critical pivot, I guess, in how I approach it, in that it was always a picture of the person early in my career. Oh, that's a dope picture of Jay-Z. That's a dope picture of DMX, Ill Scratch, Heavy D, whoever, right? And then it became, oh, that's a dope Manion of that person. It's like you look at any of Avedon's pictures, to use them as an example, they're Avedons, all of them, of a person, And for me, and I guess maybe it's just humbly like earning my stripes or feeling like, I had to.
Yeah.
It was always
What do you think that moment was?
Them. Jay-Z one time said, I can tell your pictures. I look through a magazine and I know your pictures when I see it. And
in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Not in a let's keep it on the floor in the corner of the room way. Yeah. It's the last time I'm going to go to that.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
So
there are worse things I'm sure that have happened to my photos like over the years.
Well, when you're working with the master, right, and you're just watching him do his trade and do it as good as anyone's ever done it.
Sure, without a doubt.
What do you take away from that? Like, and that's 1 year, right?
1 year. Mm-hmm. That was the commitment.
What do you take away from a day-to-day thing?
For me, it was his dedication to his craft was relentless, I guess, in a word. Like, he had more energy than his entire studio put together, and we were all sort of young men and women working for him. He was, in his 60s at that time, and he would take like an hour nap and then come back and he would be supercharged again. He's a guy screaming on set at the top of his lungs, like with the music blaring and, I don't know, whoever it was, Stephanie Seymour on set, and he's like screaming because he's so passionate and excited about what's happening in front of him. And I think that's really, it's like, it becomes like a divine gift. It's an understanding of a divine gift. Mm-hmm. Like whether you witness it in someone, sort of talented that's at the highest level of their game, a LeBron or Serena or, Scorsese or anybody, you know what I mean? It's like, it's divine. It's bigger than, okay, here's my job and this is how I do my job. Like when I'm shooting, everything falls away.
Yeah.
And I know that I've been given too many gifts along the way, little surprises or things that I'm aware of now and in the moment, for it not to be understood as something that's bigger than me. Like, you don't want to bring it to this level in some really cheesy way, but I know that part of this is me and how I touch people. This is part of like a ministry in some ways, and I'm not opening a church anytime soon or a cult,
I mean, but, you might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I could. I'd have a couple followers for sure. I mean, just off my looks alone, basically. And I know, don't post a picture of me. Like, let's just leave it mysterious.
Yeah,
and let them discover it.
Yeah.
The chiseled features. I mean,
You're gonna really catfish our audience.
Totally. I'm just gonna post like Brad Pitt.
I know.
I'm gonna tell a new story too.
Oh,
Everybody's
great.
changing the story.
So why not?
I know for us, we can see something. I know that I can see something, and maybe someone else doesn't get it, but later on, it's just like, no, the finished product is what I saw, right? Mm-hmm. People may not have been able to sort of go along with me, but the end result is what I wanted. I know when I'm like in the studio with the producer and they start off somewhere and I was like, I don't know, I don't see it. And it ends up being what they always thought they would make, mm-hmm. and it ends up perfect, right? Mm-hmm. What was the time when you saw someone work, maybe it was Avedon, maybe it was someone else, where you're just like, I don't know, and I can't understand how they're going to get something good out of this and ends up being masterful?
Look, I'll bring it to my own process and not just like less about everybody else and more about me. Not
Yeah.
really that, but I can explain it, I think, pretty in an interesting way. There is a process of getting to whatever that final result is, you know, and you have to not skip the steps to get there. Right. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things is you start like, hey, man, let's just like, just stand against a wall. Let's just like warm up, get something going. And then you discover and find and you ask somebody to hold it and to be still and then deliver or do it again, do it bigger. Here, let me show you. This is what we're sort of getting. I want more. I want this next thing. So a lot of that comes through, you know, coaching. How do you inspire somebody to be the best versions of themselves in the moment?
Yeah.
You know,
what is the best like direction that you've given?
Man, I don't know. It changes all the time. You know, there are certainly ways to
Get someone to open up.
get somebody to do what you want them to do without telling them like, hey, smile, you know, like sort of like,
But smile better.
Right.
yeah, smile better and bigger and not fake.
Yeah.
And like, you look crazy
Right.
Yeah.
now, you know, but
I remember
like,
you told me, you said, relax your face.
yeah.
Cause like I was like
Putting on
yeah,
or-
I was doing something and you were just like, like
Yeah.
relax.
Chill.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people breathe all the time. Like, yo, take
Yeah.
a deep breath, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now open them again. All right, cool. And it resets the palette and you start and you find a new sight line and you re-engage. Like they're all like little tricks, but you know, I guess one of them is like, I always ask for a moment, but I want the moment right afterwards. You know, it's like, come on, man, let's get your modeling career kicked off today. Man. Let's do it. I wanted laughter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you say something, look, I make a fool of myself all the time. And I'm okay with that because it gets the results. And I'm there to create the results. Like, I don't care what I've said throughout the entirety of the day as long as the image comes back.
Yeah.
And the client is happy and the artist is happy because that leads to repeat business and then I can keep my lights on.
So
And
when you're
you know.
in your early 20s and you're starting off on your own career, how hard is it to earn the trust of someone who's older than you?
I think that it comes down to not looking at that number. You know, it's like you're there with a gift and a talent, and this person, whoever has hired you or that you're with, needs something from you. And like, how do you do the dance? You know, like everybody was older than me as I entered the scene. So, okay, cool. And now I'm the old guy in the room, you know, and it's like.
And you never
shake-
second guessed yourself?
Of course, man. I'm an artist, man. I'm like totally like, look, I know that I have a good product, but like, yeah, there's absolute like insecurities that exist all the way through. Like, is it good enough? Am I going to get to the answer today? Like, can I do this again? Like, okay, what do I have to say? Like, all right, center and breathe and think and move and ask for what you want and be prepared for the moment and look at the light and how it's falling. You have to like center and really become more aware to be able to see it. And it's a whole process of having a vision and seeing well and then executing the plan through knowledge and talent, you know?
What was the first time that you sold a print or sold a photo to somebody?
You know, it was in college, actually. My whole senior thesis, I sold to all the deans of my school. So,
Wow.
But that was never really a drive for me. I mean, it was pictures of barns. You know, I like the passage of time. I like things that are untouched. And with barns, you have to let them fall to the ground. Otherwise, it's bad luck. You can't rip them down. You know, otherwise it's like, you know, it brings...
Is that something where you would drive around?
I would just
and-
drive. It was like meditation for me. I'd really thoroughly enjoy driving and not being able to be found.
Wow.
And you know.
Wow, you
not in
really
that
are
weird-
dark and moody. Yeah.
I really am. Yeah, put on some Depeche Mode and
Yeah.
all black, paint my fingernails black, and you know, put my Doc Martens on.
Would
know.
you
And
would you
just-
stay there for like hours, like with one barn, or was it like?
No, I would drive around and just sort of like. Look, it was really for a goal. It wasn't just sort of like that's what I did. I drove around and photographed barns.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I think that's
It
the,
was
the headline
for a
here.
purpose.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
We all know you're
sure,
like
man. Like
the weird
well,
corners
that
of your
ends
mind.
this episode of It's Dark and Moody. I'm your host, Jonathan Mannion.
That's dope though. What'd you call it?
Barnes.
Yes, you are an artist.
Yeah.
Real creative.
Man, super deep. No, I don't even know that it had a title, to be honest. But you know, it was cool. It was a project that I took on for a couple of months, and what's funny is Avedon taught a master class the year that I graduated when he got the honorary degree, and he came around and saw everybody's work on the floor.
Yeah.
Similarly.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 5 times. I'm relentless with that. And he looked at my work and I was like, he said, I see this body of work as a failure. And I was like, great. Like, okay, thanks. Why? We had to like defend our work, so I defended my work for 4 years, why I got there. It wasn't like, well, I like it and I wanted it that way.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, or like crumble in the face of criticism, as I've seen a lot of like this new generation do, because they're not used to, not getting, a trophy for participation.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah.
No, you're just whack. It's really awful. Like, why did you want that, and how can we make it better? And let me talk to you about why I think this is a failure. Like, and people like are like quivering, like on the edge of tears. But, I think that makes you really understand your own process better. So,
Well, as somebody who, you have been in this for a minute, do you still get online criticism?
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Even like as a goat of, this generation or whatever, it's just like people.
What's really funny, man, and this is deep. I don't even know who I'm serving anymore. You know what I mean? I keep people entertained and like, but why? Like, why am I not like just like chasing book building and like selling stuff at Barnes and Nobles and teaching? And, like I'm really recalibrating right now. Not that I don't. Look, I love Instagram. It's super cool. It's a great way to like
Meet
talk
thoughts.
about it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
sure.
yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Hey, do you want to go to a Common Arts concert? I hear the Smiths are in town. No, I have black nail polish. Anyway, yeah, Sagittarius.
You want to see some Barnes?
Yeah. Let's go driving.
So you don't know who you do it for?
At the moment, I know that I should be doing other things. Like I should be working just tirelessly on my book. To get that out, 25 years, I got to give it to the world to show everybody what we did together for 25 years.
Yeah.
This isn't the like, look at me and throw praises. I'm not driven by, I'm not motivated by that, because, I'm an artist. I have a different mission. And while that's really great to hear from certain people when it's really genuine and it really has encouraged somebody to pick up a camera along the way, or brought them through a moment, or, has like some nostalgia attached to it. Like, oh, the Eminem album was the first one that I ever bought, and I hid it under my pillow because my dad said I could have it, but my mom, like these stories that it's part of this like collective memory, I find fascinating, psychologically. Like I really love that there is this like connectivity with all of us from different angles, whether it's just admiration for an artist or a certain album or an image that was compelling or a moment in time or something, or even the experience from the artist saying like, Manion, you're the first white guy on my block. I'm like, look, I'm the first white guy on almost every block.
Yeah.
Because I seek the roots of, this was a game, quote. He's like, it was you and the mailman. That was it.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, but like, look what we made together. Like without the label, we did it ourselves. We told like a truly authentic story that you're still talking about today. We hit on like a chord, like it is memories that belong to the artist as well. And I was always really clear in those moments and when I'm shooting who I'm serving, and I'm being of service to them. This isn't, I gain by association and being well surrounded, in that it's like, oh, you did that last Rust project? Oh, that's dope. Hey, we got a new artist we'd love to have your stamp on, and
Is it wrong to serve yourself?
No, I think in every session, I think there is a degree of look, varying degree. Sometimes you're just in it so much and chasing it that it just becomes whatever the moment is. Like you kind of like, wow, okay, that happened and that's done. Whew, man, I left it all on the field. This is incredible. And then there's moments of like that might not be going so well, where you turn the person like in your own mind into a lump of clay and you just tell them what to do all the way through,
Did you speak with Avedon about the American West and who that was for?
No. I think that was him just clarifying his vision. Like he wanted to move into fine arts, and I'm not sure that this was exactly why he did this project.
Right.
But there were degrees of like, you're a commercial photographer and then you move into fashion and you're still commercial, but it's not fine art. And he wanted to break into that new world. And I think that some of these steps or projects that he took on in a big way. And I certainly think that body of work is the most fantastic stuff that he's ever created. And I got to see all of the film. So even the ones that weren't in the book, like there's a book that is equal, if not more powerful to the one that's out there.
That's what you should do for your book.
Take his pictures and make a book and say that they're all mine.
Yes.
Oh, this is back in 78 when I was 8. I was out west shooting drifters and
Called barns.
oil workers.
Yes.
Yeah. When I'm not shooting barns. I'm picking up drifters from the side of the road.
Again, dark. Yeah.
Super dark. You know, I'm the happy guy. You know what I mean? I'm the happy guy from the suburbs.
This is true.
You know, and we're learning the depth of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, we're just
There's
trying to
some
go
layers,
viral right now.
man. Yeah, the onion is being peeled today.
Yeah. When did you think that you left it most on the ground?
Strip clubs, man. I leave it all on the ground. Yeah. And I just throw it, and that's wherever it falls. I mean,
Budget. Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Budget gone. Wow, that was my whole job there. Okay. You know, I always rise to another level when it's an artist that I really admire, enjoy, who's, you know, especially talented at what they do, you know? So Jay-Z, you know.
That's a good one.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Like, let's face it.
Yeah.
There's other guys, and you can make a case for some other guys, you know what I mean? At longevity and this, but you know, those sessions were always more important to me because I really loved what he did. And it's like this understanding of like, how does this guy think this way? How does he do that?
Yeah.
You know, like when you're so amazed at somebody's talent, and it happens with painters and
But it's also got to be
writers
like the
and
way
whatever.
that he
It's like-
thinks as well, where it's just
Yeah.
like the conversations that you guys are having, that must be just like a really enjoyable experience to, you know, like we've had some great minds on this podcast, and to like you understand that when you're having a conversation with someone who's like at a cut above, or like Ryan Leslie is just like,
Oh, yeah.
and you're,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
it makes you rise to that occasion.
Sure.
And so I'm sure that you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think you adapt. I don't think it's ever not a version of you, as we sort of said before. But, you know, if I'm in the hood and I'm trying to shoot in some bar and I have to talk to the person behind the bar in Baton Rouge because I like the looks of it, and I'm trying to say, look, I got $200 for, 30 minutes, I'm going to have a different conversation than I am on a podcast with superior minds that I'm sitting next to right now.
Oh, no,
Like,
Ryan Leslie isn't here right now.
like,
You're just talking to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do adapt based on what you need to get done. And it's not being a chameleon. It's not being fake. They're all versions of me. But, how do you ask for what? Look, I'm famous for making absolute 100% no's into full yeses within like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Just because like I'm able to sell you the dream of what I need. It's like there was some sort of factory in LA, downtown LA, and I was shooting LL the following day. And he was like, look, we're doing this stuff and someone else is shooting, so you can't have the space. I was like, yeah, but do you think I could just have this like one corner of the space? And like if we come in like really, like I just knew what I wanted and just kept on talking until it was like, they turned the whole thing. They moved the whole movie production to another floor.
Wow.
I was like, are these guys paying you? Like, no, we're doing them a favor. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I have money on top of this, and we're going to have to play some music. And they're like, well, they're running sound. I was like, well, they're going to have to take breaks then. Like I just made it make sense to the person.
Have there been opportunities where you've had everything indoors, set up, lit, everyone's on set, and you're just like,
Where's DMX?
Or no. Well,
a good
yes,
question.
that too. No, but like where you're like, fuck
You make it sound like that's happened.
you're like,
No.
but you're
Shakes
like,
head up and
you're
down.
like, fuck it. Let's just, find some place outside instead.
Yeah, there's always audibles. I mean, just for whatever reason. I mean, even most recently, the Rush shoot in the Swiss Alps, it was going to be raining the following day, and they couldn't bring the helicopter out. So
Sure.
it was like, so you move an entire day, and you swap it, and you figure out the logistics of it. There was an Aaliyah shoot, her last photo shoot. There was an ID session that was meant to be in the evening, and I had her in the morning, and I had to do 10 shots. So like I produced it to the minute with a producer, right? And 11 o'clock the night before, they said, oh, we're going to give ID the morning, and then you guys can have the afternoon. Sorry about that. And it's like, so you have to unproduce an entire shoot and then reproduce. I mean, we had cars being delivered at precise times and catering and this and, you know, shooting in the projects and here and in studio and back. Like, it was crazy. So
how do you manage stress?
Pretty well, as it turns out. You know, like I manage.
Yeah.
I think it's all part of it. I think it's...
Because you are one of the more like centered people that I feel like I know.
Man, thank you. Yeah, again, I think in the flow of shooting, it's, I don't want to say it's not even me. Who is that person? I stand sometimes off to the side and I just watch Jonathan Mannion go in third person. No, it's not that. It's, I don't know. I'm pretty, look, when you're war tested, you know, like I've seen, I don't want to say, look, I have not seen it all, but I have, you know,
you've dealt with a lot of different
been shot
personality
at
types.
in Compton. I've had guns to the side of my head in Harlem. I've had, you know what I mean? And it's just
you
like,
can get through
if
that.
I wasn't cool,
Yeah.
you know,
I thought you were just talking about difficult people, but you're talking about actual like
no,
difficult
like
situations.
How
Yeah.
close did you get to
Yeah.
the lion with Khaled?
Very.
Oh,
Yeah. And with the tiger with Tiger.
oh my God.
Yeah. It's like,
Do you ever think about, like, I don't know, if it got loose?
of course. We were briefed on if that lion got loose. Yeah. And like, just like took off on some full sprint. You know, it's
And
just
what did
like,
they say? Duck and cover?
Stand still. Stand still, man. There's like 500-pound lion sprinting at you. You're just gonna stand still, man. Just shoot the lion.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
you know. But that was a crazy session, man. In Pasadena, California, in a mansion in a backyard. It was gated, but like, you know, mildly gated. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure the thing could have just soared over it. 2 armed guards with AKs from the police department, 2 trainers with tranq guns. There was like the handlers of the lion named Marley, who they tried to mellow out by playing Bob Marley at all times.
Yeah.
Did it work?
You know, big fans.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, it was pretty mellow. Lion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. You know, look, I move with like intention and purpose, and I feel like if I'm called to make a picture, and that's my job for that day, that I'm going to be protected as long as I walk within the structure of knowing that I'm doing my work.
Straight up, if you photograph Khaled, he's a human being. You can see, like,
Let's not to go that far, man. He's the best.
he is the best.
Yeah.
But you can see, like, something twinkle in his eyes that lets you know that, like, you've made a connection through that lens. Can you do the same with an animal?
You know, I usually get that twinkle of like, wow, I look incredible once I show them the work.
The
right?
animal?
Which is the animal. No, the artist. You know, like I might be more vocal, like don't move, please don't move. Camera, give me the roll. Okay, cool. All right, let's go. And like, you know, you're holding them by talking to them because you don't want them to move, and you're asking for something that you need.
Right.
You know, so they play along. They're like, look, I know this guy's done this before, and he sees something, so I'm just not going to move. You know, and then you guide it and finesse it, right? So sometimes through that you can get, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, I think I talk to animals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's part of my darkness. No, I you know, as a kid, man, I wanted to be like a naturalist. I would go to the nature center, and I was the kid that like collected snake sheds, you know, had like grasshoppers and formaldehyde and like,
Again, very dark.
yeah, super
Wow.
dark, man. But I mean, I wasn't like picking them apart and torturing them.
That's not
Right.
the message I'm getting from this.
Wait, did you talk to the dead animals?
The dead, I
No,
can
he
talk
killed
to them.
them.
Yeah.
No, but I've
Where's
had like
Jonathan?
hummingbirds
He's killing
like, land
squirrels
on
in
my
the
finger
back.
and stuff.
Right.
Like I'm just like a weirdo like that. But
Cleveland's got a good zoo, right?
I think it's so like they do. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's about like movement, maybe. You know, like I've never really thought about this, but I think, you know, approaching in a certain way with a certain thing. Like, speaking of Khaled, so the second shoot that we did for Grateful, where he's there like Scarface in the hot tub.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Khaled is underwater, holding his breath, holding his son up, which is amazing. We did a little mild retouching.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
lose, you know, his presence under there, but he can hold his breath for a really long time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was impressed. But I got to hold that lion cub. Right, we had a little mini lion cub because it was a Assad show.
Father
so
of
they
Assad,
wanted to do everything that we did for Khaled on the main day, the first day for Major Key.
Yep.
he wanted to give to his son on the second. So mini lion, mini dude, mini throne, mini Assad, mini flowers all over the place on the beach.
Right.
And I got to hold this lion cub and it fell asleep like in the nook of my neck. And
Whoa.
I knew in that moment that I was okay with the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just
you have
one
to,
of those.
keep that lion.
Yeah.
Man, I wish, man. It would be one of those, like, I don't even know the name of the person, but got reconnected with lions that they set free in the wild, and the lions recognized and like tackled and they rolled around.
Yeah.
And,
Man,
Brother Nature.
You have so many contact sheets of all, the artists that you've shot through the years at your studio. I'm sure at home too. You just have this huge collection of things.
Sure.
Is it anything where you're like, these are for me and I don't need to share everything?
I think I'm at a moment where I'm willing to push it all back in. I think I protected the work for so long to be able to make this statement. And obviously, look, there's moments that stuff gets out there that is can be challenging. Someone's like, I'm gonna steal that picture and put it on a t-shirt, and then you have to go after people. Like, this is the worst part of my job, is like sort of policing that. But I also know that I protect the artists from these things being released to make that statement that's like 25 years of like, oh yeah, this is pretty much everything in the last 25 years. And that's really, really important to me. But it's like there is a protection of the artists. And I like to let people into the moment. I just did a show in Berlin called Living Proof, as like the contact sheets are also called proof sheets, so that was my thing. And I went with a box of proof sheets and I just stuck them all up on the wall randomly over, a 10-hour period. And I just let everybody see them. It's like one artist, one proof sheet, the actual contact sheet that was done at the time of the session. So it's covered, 20 something odd years of work. And it was amazing just to see people like get lost in these little portals. It looks manageable, right? The wall was probably as wide as your kitchen, maybe a little bit wider, glass on both sides, and then behind me was like a massive picture of DMX with the dogs. And then I just like stuck up all these things. So you look at it and it's like a clump of work, like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you get up there and within a 6 by 6 centimeter portal, you could be in the bay with E40 and then slide over and you're, chopping Busta Rhymes' dreads off, and then you're with Aaliyah like a foot away. Like, it was random. But again, it presented so many moments that it became overwhelming, like the opposite of sort of an impressionist painting. You stand back and you can see the whole scene, is kind of the opposite.
Wow. It's like pointillism. It's not, but it sort of is.
It could be.
It sounds deep.
Points on a timeline.
One of my favorite contact sheets that I've seen of yours is of you wearing ODB's Rick James getup for his cover that you wore first, I guess, as a test.
Felt like heaven. Just like heaven. To quote the Cure. Bring it to the dark side again. We didn't think he was going to show up. This is for the album And Please. And there were 2 other photographers, as I understand it, that couldn't hack it. They were just they felt a little disrespected that he wouldn't show up. And I'm like, this is hip hop. Like, send me in.
Yeah.
Send me in. I'm going in, guys.
Yeah.
Bomb suit. Walks in. Robot, And we had all the stuff that he asked for. He asked for a bed. He asked to dress up as Donna Summer. So we had heels and skirts and stuff, and then we had amazing stylist came through, and then we had this crazy Rick James suit. Somewhere along the way, we got in touch with him, and I think it was Sylvia Rohn who called somebody to say, look, we'd like to encourage him to go to his album shoot because we kind of need this, because we would have drawn a stick figure and been quite happy, at the end of it. And I think that was probably... I know that I wore the suit to inspire my team to stay present in the moment and to have some fun. We ordered a bunch of Coronas and we were just like, it's a beautiful Saturday, all the windows. We kind of like took a nap like a little cluster of puppies on that bed. We're like laying all over each other and just like, there was no way he was showing up in our minds. And then he started calling. I want $20,000 and then I'll show up. Wire me. Western Union me the money.
They called you guys?
They called the art director.
Wow.
And he's like, I want 20K. And then I'll show up. It's like, no, we're not. No, this is your thing for you. You know what this is, man. Like, this is also a guy who took his whole styling budget and bought gold fronts for the prior shoot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
yeah.
he was on his own mission, no matter what, flying through clouds, as he was. So we're like, no, all right, just call us back and just get over here. Just give us, let us know when you're on your way. He called back like 10 minutes later. 10. I'll do it for 10.
Oh, he's negotiating now.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, man. No, just show up. It's fine. You'll get 10K out of it somewhere.
Yeah. We had Rob Stone on the podcast, and Rob
Incredible
talked
dude.
about the very, very, very early days of the Fader, and I'm pretty sure he said that you and your efforts were responsible for what Fader would become. What was the story behind getting that first cover?
Yeah. He's like, I want to make a magazine, and I don't know how I'm going to really do that. And I was like, look, I got you. Like, shook his hand, and I was like, I got you. Let me just do it. I'll just do it. And literally I shot Funkmaster Flex on 5th Avenue, and my lab was over there, like 30th and 5th. And literally my lab was on the second floor, and I would shoot the roll because they needed the film that night to go to press to release it on a certain day that was some critical date for the release of the news, So it's throwing rolls of film over my head, shoot, lick it, roll, like toss, and they process it in the moment, and we met the deadline.
Unreal.
And then that was the first one. So the first Fader was Funk Flex, right? And I think that was because of the Cornerstone and the mixtape thing. It was rooted in that. And then they're like, we're going to go bigger. And so then they got Jeff Staple to design the next issue with me. Like I turned in kind of a layout that ended up being kind of the same layout, but he designed the rest of the magazine. And we worked together. So Jeff and I kind of did the second one, which was the Three Kings. It was Zach from Rage Against the Machine, Reverend Run, and Premiere. Man. Which is amazing. And I was like, yo, this is so good. Like, for me, it's like I just liked not having to like fight or prove myself, And I was getting amazing work done with incredible talent.
Yeah.
And then it was Outkast, and then it was Mos Def, and then it was M, and then it was like, and these were like humble, quick sessions, but somehow the work that I have done for the Fader throughout time is more personal than work that I have done for other magazines.
Wow.
The work for album covers is also incredibly personal, even though sometimes there's an agenda, that the artist needs a certain thing, the label needs a certain thing. That there's a set of required deliverables, right? Just we need press, we need this and this, and international and something. But even within that structure, we talk about sort of serving myself within the process. I was still trying to create the best work for the artist with them in mind, but pleasing myself. Like, okay, cool, I got that shot. You want a shot like this with him in the background, cool, and framed? Cool. Can I try something else? And you'd walk into the hallway and then say, look, I like this a little better. Can we do a couple like this? And they're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's way better. Like, cool. So, like, there is the moment of, like, get the job, do your job, and then show them what you do
what it could
as
be.
an artist.
Yeah.
And guiding them to another layer. And they still may go with the stuff, a pedestrian, simplistic sort of version of it. But at least now I have the images now to share, to say, look, this is what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because many album covers that are out there in the world, I don't like as much as other stuff that I did.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, what's one that you fought for that ended up being, the one?
The one?
Yeah.
DMX, Dark and Hell is Hot.
Oh.
Everybody knew. But I was like, yo, this is the image. And it was a Polaroid. It was a 665 Polaroid. I was like, this is the shot. It's like a little glimmer, a little shine in his eye from like a little fill card, like a little out of frame. That was amazing.
Was he a part of that creative process?
In that he participated
Yeah, sure.
thoroughly. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't take a picture, of an artist without the,
Yeah.
look, I can. I mean, I shot like DMC's glasses. That represents him as much as, the hat, Jam Master Jay's chain with the Adidas, So yeah, there's representations of the artists that can stand as like icons and symbols for them. But
who is somebody who's asked you to take part in something, I don't know, a Super Bowl party or something else where they're like, I'd like a Jonathan Mannion experience for something that's not a magazine cover or an album cover?
I mean, this is kind of the roots of what I used to do in clubs. You know, like I'd shoot the artists on stage, but I would set up a little photo booth in the back of the club and just like pull people in. You know, I end up having a picture of like Jay-Z in a Nautica button, like golf shirt. You know what I mean? Like with Air Force Ones on and some like reg jeans in '95. Like, you know, like, and not even knowing like, okay, hey, thanks man for dope. And like, you know, I knew who he was from jazz, but and I knew that who he was in real time. But you know, I was like, huh, okay, that's Hov. All right, cool. But you know, I don't know. I guess probably the most clear example, I guess, that comes to mind is the Beats by Dre thing that we did together.
Yeah,
us collectively.
No, that was
us three made that whole thing come together.
That was a very special thing, and shout out to Kristen and shout out to Stephanie and everybody
100%.
over there. I know
J-Hop.
Oh my God, there were so many special people who stopped through, and that's you, that is Kristen, that's Steph, that's the Beats by Dre setup, that's the Straight Outta Compton thing, but there was something in that room, and there was something. Everybody who stopped by.
For me too, man. You know, to have heard the pitch that came from a very young team that was like, oh yeah, cute idea, guys, and they brought me into a meeting. Like Kristen's like, no man, you can get this done. Yeah. You know, I walked into the room. I was like, do you guys understand like how really important this is? Like to one, the individuals, two, to your movement, three, that this young creative team came up with this, and I know how to execute this. Like I was trying to pitch going city to city to shoot in Vienna and London and Tokyo.
Yeah, because you want to run that budget up.
I wanted to run the budget up. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I do try and sell in some dreams. You know, like when Eminem's album was called Amsterdam, I was like, so we're going to Amsterdam, right? I was like, oh, trip to Amsterdam. This is dope.
They're like Amsterdam Avenue.
Yeah. Oh, no, you did go to Amsterdam though, right?
I did, yeah. And then went to Detroit once he changed the name.
Yeah.
To Marshall Mathers LP.
What was Amsterdam like?
Smoggy, like because of the hazes we were walking through. But yeah, just to finish the Beats by Dre, and then we can touch on that. But shooting 100 people in 3 days. Yeah. With 4 to, I think the longest was 12 minutes. I took it with DJ Quick because I love DJ Quick. This is my guy. Yeah. But it was really like 4 to 6 minute bursts of like the highest level talent. From Ro James to Melanie Fiona, you guys, Vashti,
the Locks,
Nigel Sylvester,
Gunplay.
Like man, exactly. You know, and then there were 2 days around the awards. So Caliucci's, just like. It was so cool to engage with kind of a new up-and-coming vibration from the artist.
What was the percentage of people that you had met and people you hadn't met?
I'd say 60% of the people I knew, and a big percentage of that I invited. Like, hey, I'm doing this thing, come through. Like, Warren G, Quick, out on the West Coast, and it was also, too, around the movie. So I was shooting, Cube's son, the lead character that played Dre, whose name escapes me right now, I'm sorry. But, it's just like, I don't know, just like gathering. And somehow it was one of the most important jobs that I've done because I was given the opportunity to be a part of the sell-in of why you should come. Like Jonathan Mannion is going to shoot you, and that's a big deal to us as Beats by Dre. Yeah. Like anybody else that shoots for Apple is anonymous. Yeah. Right? I know people that shoot, but they don't get the credit. Right. They can't even put it in their books in most cases. Man. Right? And that's why Apple pushes in whatever money they do or doesn't push in because they're also Apple. Like, like, what are you going to... I know I don't really want to do it. Like, it's still phenomenal to do anything to be a part of that fantastic machine. And, like, I'm honored to have done stuff with them, sort of interviewing SZA or Stali or Black Eyed Peas or whatever along the way. Like, they cherish the fact that I go as deep as you guys go for your podcast because we want the real information, which is super exciting. But so anyway, when that was amazing to do all of that.
One more question about it, which is, you knew 60%, you didn't know 40%. and that you only had 4 minutes or so with each person. So how tough is it to make a connection with somebody you don't know?
Yeah, A game, man.
Yeah.
You know, you bring your A+ game that day.
Yeah.
You know, like, look, I don't think that there was, there weren't too many breaks. You know what I mean? It was like for me to change my T-shirt, I was just like sweating through T-shirts. Like, you know, I'd get in there and get after it. But, you know, that's where at that time, you know, 22, 23 years of experience of getting right to work comes in really handy.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think, look, I'm sure there's great shooters out there, but like I would be hard pressed to think of somebody who could execute at that level with that speed and then have the Times Square billboard up for 3 months with like ad level stuff based on the structure that I had in play, the ability to change how I saw it based on different background and lighting structures, and to have a team ready to move just with a nod and a movement and a thing, and that shorthand that we built super quickly.
You know, you talked about earlier how your role has sort of now evolved into education now being at the a real pillar of what you do. And so what do you think young kids out there, because everybody now has a phone in their hands, what do you think that is something that they as a whole have not yet gotten or not like correctly doing or whatever? I don't want to make it sound like judgy, but like what's something that you think that they could learn from you?
Man, like deep questions. I don't know. I don't know if they have to be willing to learn first. I think everybody believes that they have the answer already. And look, it's not, you can't generalize. It would be unfair for me to say kids these days, you know what I mean? You know, but I have experienced moments where people want the microwave meal. How fast can I don't care how to cook it. I don't care what's in it, man. Just get me to the bag, you know, because like it looks really easy. I think it's, you know, in some ways, I think Instagram is awful because it just presents comparison at all times. I fall into it. I compare myself to everybody, and why is this guy on a jet? And I put in 25 years of work, and why am I not on a jet? Do I want to be on a jet? Who do I have to be in that room, in what turtleneck and suit combo deal to be at some brunch, and why wasn't I invited? Like, yo, I go crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and then you step back and you're like, okay, no, settle. Get back to work.
Are you able to be like Avedon was when he looked at your stuff, you know, at your barns, and give that type of critique?
Yeah, no, for sure. For the young artists who want that and seek answers,
that's what it is. Right. So people don't always. They're not always accepting of it. They may not want that. They don't want to learn.
Yeah, they just think they have it down. Like, no, I got this. You know, like maybe you do. Look, maybe you do. There's people getting incredible opportunities. You know, barely any dues paid. You know what I mean? And again, it's just a different moment. What I love though about my journey, and I think people of my generation, and some now that are doing it in a way that I think is the way to do it, is they're not skipping steps. Because each step makes you stronger for the next step, right? And I just think that there's a reward in the journey, like in the highs and the lows, and getting kicked in the dick along the way, and losing money and being fucked over by somebody, or like excelling and being given some dream job like a Beats by Dre or like the Fader opportunity, where it's like, why do I deserve this? This is like heaven. I just get to do what I do. Like, and they're supportive of me, and they're behind me, and they believe, and they appreciate. Like, yo, that's the reward.
Yeah.
You know, but that's an earned thing, I feel. And I think that the people that are skipping the steps are doing themselves a disservice.
So you may look at your Reasonable Doubt stuff and see, you know, the American West in that, right? Mm-hmm. Do you look at what some people are doing now and see yourself in their work?
You know, I've been told on various occasions by various people, like, we study your shit. like we look at like you're the blueprint that I pay attention to, and I'd say thanks, man. I think that that says
That was Tommy, by the way.
Shout
I
out to Tommy.
I didn't want to take credit for like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Jonathan wasn't looking at Jeff saying, yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Hashtag goat emoji. Follow me at jonathanmannion.com.
Oh, I do have to follow you back.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I have a rhythm of shooting that comes from formal training, from Avedon and paying attention and absorbing all that, to Mark Ohm, a Danish photographer, to Stephen Klein, one of the most creative voices still to this day, to Michael Halspan, who, followed the Stones around and did many album covers. And, I was on set with him, Ben Watts, who still is out there shooting all the time, a lot of high energy stuff. Like I have put my time in. I have a PhD in my own mind based on the people that I've worked for in photography, so that made me have that calm that we spoke about earlier, and the confidence to be able to say, okay, now it's just about the art, because I know that like technically you're going to hand it and like automatically I just said it. It's just that rhythm, you know what I mean? And I think that that's, I don't know, what's made it so much richer of a journey for me, and I don't know, I guess like speaking about this new generation, there's definitely people that want it, that seek the answers, that want to learn, that want the critique, that are willing to, put the ego aside and realize that there's real value in delivering like a critique. Like, okay, cool. Hey, look, like, you ready? You got thick skin today? Great. This could have been better. Why did you do this? Why did you crop this person here? I mean, they're little things to think about. Like the light, why didn't you retouch it? Her skin looks awful. Like, do you want a picture looking like that? Like they're little things, it's like, oh yeah, wow, I didn't really even think about it. Or I was going to do it later. Or,
yeah, I was going to download Facetune and I was going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I have a really clear perspective. I'm destined to teach for sure. Right? I'm just avoiding it because like I really am also destined to shoot. Like that brings me more joy, but I'm definitely adding more days of like, I just went to University of Michigan at Flint and I taught 3 classes.
Wow.
Just like a business class, like here's the journey, this is what it is, to a photo class, to photographing an artist, to then I interviewed on stage and then he performed. Like,
wow.
It's just like a full day, but you just like give yourself to a moment.
Yeah.
You just let it go. And
very kind of you to do that at, in enemy territory too, for an Ohio
yeah,
guy, but,
man. Yeah, that was tough. But I had one warrior, my best friend in the entire world, teaches there, who's also a big,
that's awesome,
Ohio State guy. He's like, I'm taking away some of the money of Michigan's money to not go to the football program because I've asked for a lot, and therefore Ohio is like one level. We always kick their ass anyway.
No, there it is.
We're just better.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I like the collective
the Buckeyes.
we. Yeah.
Well, we went to go see Questlove and Black Thought. They were speaking with Elliot Wilson live on stage at the Gramercy a couple months ago. Yep. And something that really resonated to both of us after we left, we talked about, someone in the audience had asked, why go and produce television shows? Why do stand-up comedy? Why do films and cookbooks and all this different stuff? And Black Thought's like, I'm an artist. I'm not defined by one little box.
Yeah.
I have, a true artist has many different disciplines, and I can express myself in many different ways. We had Trinidad James up here. You directed his music video. You're not just one thing. Have you expressed yourself in different art forms, and do you want to express yourself in different art forms?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quick answer, yes.
We all know that you danced.
There you go. Yeah,
I still got that rhythm, man. Like I've had some injuries, in the last couple of years. I broke both of my legs in the last 2 years.
Did you really?
One in Colombia. I was shooting a J Balvin video, directing Chris Cab, J Balvin. And I landed on a climbing rope. Like I climbed the rope and then dropped and landed on the rope. And
that's the wrong way to climb.
Yeah.
And then I shot the video for 2 days. Like this is like, what are you made of?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I directed the video after being taped directly on my skin by like a soccer trainer.
Football. That is Yeah, football. Yeah.
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Football. Really.
That's the ultimate audible.
And
My
then,
God.
yeah, they're like, "Yo, you're not gonna like leave, are you?" Like, because it was like hour one of a 2-day video shoot, and I was like, "No, I'm with you." Like, I didn't know that I had broken my leg. I mean, I knew,
Yeah.
because I was in pain.
Yeah, you
and
couldn't
yet
put
I was
any-
like dancing. And
Yeah.
like, and I walked through the airport. I came back. I went on a date. I walked around the Met, and then I was like, you know what? Be a grown-up, Manion, for a change.
Wow.
Like, maybe go like lean in on that healthcare that you pay for.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, you broke it.
You can only lean in so far because you had a broken foot.
yeah,
leg.
exactly. Well, one leg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a balance. But. And then the other one.
Wait, before we go into the other one, what was that plane ride like?
Yeah.
Did you just like have your
don't
foot
know.
in the aisle?
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. Up somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
it was
first
Jay
class. I
Balvin.
think
Oh, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
was it private?
Yeah.
No, I flew. Yeah, no. I've only taken 2 private flights in
Which
my
were
life.
what?
Ever?
Ever.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, like we say it like we've taken any.
No, I know we've taken 0, but
Yeah.
you're Jonathan Mannion.
No, I feel like I should have taken more. Like,
I
people are
agree.
flying private all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drake, back from Jamaica,
That's a good one.
which was my first, which is fantastic. That
Did
was
they
a
make
couple
you
albums
sit
ago.
in the one that like
The seat
it
that
goes
faces backwards. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So was that like awfully weird?
No, it wasn't
Oh.
too bad.
No, because it's like you're. I don't know. It's
I
backwards.
prefer to go forward.
But except-
I prefer,
yeah, like a normal
even on
Yeah.
like trains in the UK,
Yeah.
like Eurostar or whatever. Like I need to go forward. I
Yeah.
have a little sort of motion thing from when I was.
Oh,
you
well,
know,
this is
Yeah.
not that.
this is not that.
It
Yeah.
goes like straight up and yeah.
And then the second one was this guy named Shek Faye, who was a big art guy, Nigerian dude that was going down to Basel. He's like, yo, you want to hitch a ride? Why don't you come down? He bought a bunch of my prints, and I was like, man, are you kidding me? I'd love to, man. So,
Wow.
flew private down. Although I believe, flying private on Monday
right on.
to Aspen to...
listen to this guy.
I know.
Yo,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
Check this out. Roger Dubuis, incredible watch company, right? Swiss movement, fantastic. Make everything like double tourbillon, like $230,000 watches.
Wow.
Like,
Wait, keep
one
talking
of
about them.
eight.
I want them to sponsor us.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Roger Dubuis. They might actually.
No, but use your
What do you
college
need?
radio voice. Yeah.
Roger Dubuis.
89.9.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Since 1897, you made the finest watches. Like, catch that side of APR financing, you know, all that. No, so they do experiential experiences, experiential sort of marketing, right? So they're flying. We're flying private on Monday to drive Lamborghinis on the ice.
What?
And snowmobile and like for 3 days, like just like, hey, come enjoy this. We want you to have a good time and want you to hang out and like, we love what you do.
No, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I just want you to like
But
just
they're
take a second to
fantastic.
like just listen to what you just said.
Ice driving Lamborghinis
Yeah.
on ice, private plane,
and snowmobiling.
Yeah.
fancy watches.
Do you get a watch at the end of the day? Oh yeah.
I have a watch.
Oh, this is
no,
great.
I've. They gifted me. They gifted me.
Wait, one of their watches. They didn't just
at
give you like a
discount.
fossil.
They're some of the most generous people that I've met. Right? They did an event to celebrate Khaled's birthday and gifted he and Nicole, his wife, these phenomenal watches. Bought a piece of mine to give to Khaled. Like, they're really just like quality people in a sea of kind of nonsense and like buffoonery that exists kind of in this.
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of cut through it. Like, no, we're really honored to have you. Like, we love who you are, what you do, and we want to align with the real people of this industry.
That's dope.
You know, and so they've had me somehow. They're like, "Yo, you're a big deal to us." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is amazing."
Other mediums though, for your art.
Oh yeah, back to that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
sure.
I was
I was
ice
thinking
driving.
Yeah,
Lamborghini,
yeah, ice driving Lamborghini.
wearing a $200,000 watch a couple minutes ago. A little daydream, you know, in real time.
But sure, we can go back
And
to your
vocalize.
question, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Speaking of other art forms, I sure would like to do collages.
Yeah, I love paper mache.
Next question.
Yeah.
Where's my press person?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we move on from that, please? Yeah, he's only got about 2 more minutes.
Just cut that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, oddly enough, yeah, I landed on something that I moved into a new studio in Jersey City. I'm at Mana Contemporary, amazing space. And I went in there and just kind of locked the door and just started like cutting up photos of mine.
Wow.
You know, to land in. I'll show them to you afterwards, but I won't talk about it too much. But like that's exciting to me. Like, oh, that could really, really work. I'm excited, but it just requires so much time.
Yeah.
And energy to kind of make these things. You know, what I made very quickly in maybe 6 or 7 hours was just like rough structural starting points of like, oh, that could be really dope.
That's awesome.
You know, so that's exciting kind of as I move into a new space. Look, I'd like to get back to painting. You know, it's how I started.
Yeah.
I only took photography 1 year in school, but I found it was a great way to deal with people, to have an exchange that would mark a moment and never be the same again. You know, I liked that marking time in that way. So
What do you like
some
about
painting.
this studio better than the one that you were in for so long?
I like the high ceilings.
Yeah.
It's a 45-minute commute, you know, like out there and then 45 back. You know, I'm in Gramercy, and so I liked my commute before.
Yeah.
It was cross 2 streets and then you're there.
It's easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the same block.
It was
Yeah.
much easier for
Across
us too.
Yeah.
Second and Third Ave, you know, but look, I like the idea of there being an artistic community with a lot of energy around. You know, you do feed off of what people are doing, even though, you know, like we're not in each other's business. It's not sort of like we keep our door open and people kind of float in to say what's up. And
Oh, you
say,
share the space with somebody?
there's about probably 50 artists within the space. It's 6th floor. It's an old tobacco factory in Jersey. And, you know, Chantal Martin is out there. Like there's some really notable people that have just, ICP is out there now, Irving Penn Foundation.
Wow.
You know, it's one of the biggest collections of Warhols that exists that you can just go and see and walk around. There's probably 80 of them, 100 maybe. There's a Rameau Z show. There's like amazing sculpture. It's a destination, and we do these things like these open houses that everybody opens their studios and you can really see the depth of what's happening in the
Very
space.
Cool. But how's the food around there?
It's not fantastic. You know, there's good Indian food. We just got a new Szechuan space.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
man. We're all excited about that.
Oh, Just Blaze has a place, a ramen place.
Just Blaze!
in Jersey City. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Do
like that.
you have to
I
be?
like that.
Make me know about that.
Are you
I like that.
loyal to your framing guy? Do you have like one guy where
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, New Yorker Picture Frames. If we shamelessly drop that,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
sponsor
Another
you.
sponsor.
Yeah, there you go.
Yo, we got Beats by Dre.
Yeah.
We got Roger Dubuis.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't even touched on Moet yet. You know?
Oh my God.
The Nectar of the Culture campaign that I'm doing with Moet.
I
as a
have seen
partner.
that.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
I noticed that you haven't sent any bottles up here.
Yeah, no.
Which is, like,
That's
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
I nearly brought a bottle. I didn't have my bottle, and I wanted to give you the autographed Jonathan Mannion Nectar Imperial
The experience.
Rosé.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The limited edition
the
Jonathan
experiential experience. Yeah.
The experiential experience. Of course, it's all about that. Yeah, I only had a Moet Ice,
Ugh,
the white
you know,
bottle.
Yeah.
it's a real.
Trash.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It's actually my favorite.
Well,
it's actually my favorite.
certainly
I like
reason-
it on cubes. I like that cool sort of-
Reason enough for you to come back. you
I
know?
would be honored.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jonathan.
Where's the
it's-
speed round? Is there a speed round?
Oh, you
Are
want a speed
trying to-
round? Oh,
are
sure.
you trying to like shut
Yeah.
me down?
No. Oh no. We can go for
like,
hours.
To be conscious of my
Speed
time.
round.
Like,
Yeah, here we
yo,
go. Yeah.
I'm your bitch. I'm in here.
We
I'm
all
in here
know
for you guys.
have nothing else going on today.
I don't. I just have to daydream about driving Lambos.
All right. Yeah. Speed round. Okay. Here we go. Busta Rhymes.
Bustle boss. These aren't my impressions.
Yeah. It's strictly impressions.
Yeah. I love Busta Rhymes, man. I've known him since like, I think the first time I photographed him. Certainly, I know his work. Period.
Yeah.
You know, Leaders of the New School, phenomenal. I photographed him in '97 on the Bouncy Killer Junior Reed Change Like the Weather set in maybe Queens, Brooklyn. I can't even remember. But he had an orange Dum Dum sucker pop thing, like a little, you know, you get at the doctor's office. After you get your teeth cleaned. And so maybe he just come back from the dentist. But he had an orange like suit on with the crazy Dr. Seuss hat and like some crazy wild outfit.
Man.
And I photographed him that day. And you know, I've had an amazing run with Bus. He's one of the most like quality, passionate, artist within the game, but like bigger than that, human being and spirit and soul. Like he really is the real deal, you know, like he's wild and you can catch him on days when he's like amped up and needs something done and he's putting that foot on neck pressure.
Yeah.
And then you can get him and he's just like, no, we're not done. I'm standing here. You don't understand. Like, you 4 cops, like, wait. It's like One Oak at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm standing with Jonathan Mannion, the royal emperor. You don't understand. Yo, he chopped my dreads off and then he made a box and I gave it to my mom. You don't understand who this is. Do you know who this is? Yo, we're doing shots. Like, you know, like, wild.
Puff Daddy.
Love, isn't it? Where you going?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Love or Swag or
No, he changed his name, like, officially.
Love.
I'm gonna call him Puff.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I know. You know what I mean? There was an interesting sort of meme, like, you know, Diddy or Puff or Sean Combs or whatever. Like, whatever you call him is when you've known him from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which is, so I just call him Puff.
I call him Love.
You know, he was part of a really
I call him
critical. He's another one, man. I mean, like, look, without his contributions to culture and the development of it, we would probably not be as far along as we are, because I think he sharpened a lot of people to make sure that their games were tight, which then increased the quality of the products that were going out there. He's another one with that energy, man. I mean, he's like, he will go down as, you know, one of the absolute greats, brilliant businessman, and the way that he can get behind, you know, things that he wants to happen, like the whole Revolt conference that he did with AT&T, another sponsor for you
There
guys.
you go.
Thank
There
you
you go.
so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
AT&T, Roger Dubuis,
Yeah.
Moet, you know, what else do we have?
Beats by Dre.
Beats by Dre, the Framing Company.
The Framing
Yep.
Company.
The Indian place in Jersey
The
City.
Indian
There you go,
places,
yeah.
Just Blazes,
Yep.
Ramen, yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
You know, a lot of sponsorship money coming in.
It's
All
almost
for
too
this
much.
episode,
I know.
too.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
How are we going to divvy it up? I mean,
No.
do we give him like a quarter? I mean, is this a quarter because we're all in the room? Or is
Yeah.
it like
I think
third
so.
for a third, and
I
then
think
we
so.
just...
Probably
Oh,
right.
you want to
And then
cut out
10%
Tommy?
of it.
That
Yeah,
seems nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
After
I mean,
Tommy
it's
was
cool.
like,
I mean,
I
he's
look up
probably
to you.
getting paid
I know,
to
yeah.
shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
Cold world, man. You know, you get my knowledge.
That's right. That's right.
What about Outkast?
Oh man, we just did a huge mural in,
Which we
in
saw.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
that thing.
Behind Wish.
Look,
Another company.
There you
Another
go. Yeah.
company,
Shout out
Wish.
to everyone at Wish.
That was special, man. Look, probably 2 of my favorite sessions of all time. You know, because of who they are, how they engage. I mean, big up even all of Atlanta. You know, I don't know whether Atlanta can sponsor something, but maybe we can get the mayor involved. Or
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keisha,
Keisha Bottoms.
yeah.
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 Oh, fantastic. That's right. She's in. Yeah, they are, in my mind, responsible for pushing the borders out to allow people to have unique voices that they didn't think that they could celebrate to be celebrated. You know, like Dre and coming out in like wearing like drapery pants and a mounted police hat and like a marching band uniform. It's just like, oh, we can wear anything now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yo, that's our guy and he's brilliant and like, yo, we can do this. But yeah, I love who they are and what they do musically. Like, it's just, I feel like they're the North Star of what artists should be in
For
a lot
sure.
of ways.
What about June Ambrose?
I love June, man. I just saw her in Atlanta, oddly enough. She's pure energy, man, and her Look, I love her because I think now, and in recent, maybe the last 5 years or so, you know, there has been a shift of like, well, how did all of those huge artists like Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott, or whatever, establish their look? You know, it's also Hype Williams, it's also Lil X, it's me, it's Danny Clinch, it's Estevan out west. It's, you know, like the people just out of that bright hot spotlight
Yeah.
are holding these artists high. And I think now putting the light on some of those contributions, I think, is really critical. But
Yeah.
man, she's a very I've known her forever, you know.
She's
and,
also way hilarious.
oh, she's the best.
Yeah.
Man. She is like, yeah, a one of one. Like, yeah.
Nelly.
Yeah. Yo, it's funny. Nelly doesn't get the love that I really feel like he
No kidding.
deserves in some
Yeah.
ways.
This year he's doing all the festivals, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's back for the
but
whatever.
he deserves to do that. Like,
I
I
know.
mean, he is like a fire starter, party, pumper, man. Like
For
his
sure.
tunes.
Yeah.
Look, and I think it's a great moment, man. I look at, even Marshall Mathers LP turning, like the 20-year anniversary is this year in May. It's like there's a lot of 15 and 20-year anniversaries of projects that we all love. We, the people that have like grown through and with this industry.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
funny.
Nelly's he's in recent, like he's just like calm. I don't know, like I just see him as this, like, I know who I am, and I'm over here, and I'm doing my thing. Like for me, I was honored to have established all of his first set of visuals, you know, and I don't think even St. Louis gets enough love for their contribution, what the Lunatics did,
Yeah.
Well, how did you get brought on to do Nelly?
Through Kuda Love, actually. Kuda, who managed Mace, was like, yo, we got this kid out of St. Louis, man, that's gonna be fire. Why don't you come listen to something in studio? And listen to, I think it's EI or one of the tunes, and I was like, what is this, man? Like in some way the vibration was just like totally different than probably I was listening to like Jay-Z or Kane, you know what I mean? Whatever my little zone was of what I loved, probably New York and Biggie and Nas and whatever. I was like, oh man, I got to see this move. I find that one of the biggest rewards for me has been to go spend time in the cities to see the people respond to the music face to face, in real time, in clubs, in strip clubs, in, recording studios or whatever. And you see how amped people get in Atlanta, in Memphis, in Florida, in Houston, like, it's like, it's wild. St. Louis was one of those places, man. Like you had to see it. Actually, I dated a woman from St. Louis for many years because I was going back and forth so often.
Wow.
Yeah, and just sort of was like, I could get down with St. Louis, and got a place in St. Louis. Like,
how about our friends at Dreamville?
Oh man, I received such a gift, man.
Talk about good energy,
To be present for the revenge sessions that they just did, man, I have not seen or felt energy like that in years and years and years. I'd say at least like 10 or 15 years. I mean, when I went to show Cole a set of visuals to say, look, here's what I want to do sort of within this space, if you'll give me access to it, because there was no photography allowed.
Right.
It was only, I think, Anthony Supreme who was in, and maybe one other person. But, I went in, I was like, look, this is kind of what I want to make, so if we can do a shot here, that would be awesome. And then we have the XXL cover that I was doing for them. So I was like, we'll spend the whole day, we'll do some portraits, and look, I'll give you guys access to it if it's beneficial. So like I really, XXL and magazine budgets are no longer what they used to be.
Right.
And I did it because I didn't have a picture of Cole.
Wow.
And I've wanted to work with him for so long. And this was sort of like, you take one because you believe in what you're doing. And, the reward of me pushing in all of my energy and time and working, look, sometimes you do it for free. You do it because you love it. And this was one of those days. And I know I'm not allowed to speak about working for free, but I did that one for free.
Yeah.
Because I needed a picture of Cole to be able to have the fullness of the story that I want to tell you through my book.
Super dope.
Is there anybody that you still have not yet worked with?
Yeah. I mean, I say it all the time, but Sade is like my number one. And I don't know, you know what?
What's
I say
crazy
it,
is
but I don't.
She listens to this podcast, and so I think
Sade,
Big fan. Yeah.
if you're listening, hi, hi, Jonathan here.
she loves the AKAs. Every single time she's just like, "Oh my god,
that's my
AKA
favorite part.
Murder Manion,
yeah."
AKA Filet Mignon, AKA. Sade's big. Rihanna, I'd love to shoot. I think that would be an incredible time. Just like seeing the imagery. Like, if
Could you do a Fenty campaign?
I would be honored to.
I mean, like,
and
could you be the
obviously
subject of?
Oh, me in it? Of course. I mean, look at me, man. Again, the chisel feature. Is
Yeah, you get the highlighter on.
Yeah. Look, a hot mess, man. But her, if you take a bad picture of her, I think you should probably reconsider your craft.
Yeah.
It just seems like effortless. She just turns it on and it's on.
Yeah.
I'd like to spend some time. Sorry, it sounds creepy. I'd like to spend some time with you, Rihanna, if you listen. You and Sade.
Listen, it didn't work for Royce, but I imagine it'll work for you.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Well,
So,
Jonathan, it's always awesome to talk with you. It's always great to see you. And
Likewise.
just like your parents and us with your photograph, you've left it all on the floor. and
we just
appreciate
revving up.
you. Yeah.
This is part one
That's
of a
right.
two-part podcast.
That's right,
Once
yeah.
I bring the champagne, we're drinking
Here
the
we go.
champagne, and then we can really get into the juice, man. People want to know the behind the scenes,
Yeah.
the darkness, where I take my long walks at night, listening to Depeche Mode.
Thanks everyone for listening to this new episode of A Waste Time with It's The Real. Jeff, people want to find out more about us. I'm Eric, you're Jeff. Together, we are It's The Real. No apostrophe, no spaces. If people want to find out more about this podcast, it's called A Waste of Time with It's The Real. If people want to find out more about what's going on with us, where can they go?
You can always go to itsthereal.com, ITSTHEREAL.com. We've got a bunch of stuff on our website, including our newsletter. Go sign up for that. You can also find our merch on ItsTheReal.com/shop. We also have all of our podcasts. All of our episodes are on all streaming platforms that you can find. Whatever you're listening to it on right now, that's where it is. I'm talking about Spotify, CastBox, Acast, Overcast,
Apple,
Google Play,
YouTube.
People ask if it's on Pandora. It's on Pandora.
I think SoundCloud is still a thing.
AudioMap. We got an audience there.
Who knew?
Who knew? Didn't know. Also, you can find us on all social media platforms, especially Twitter at It's The Real and Instagram at It's The Real.
Jeff, now is the time where we like to shout people out, and I know I promised people that if they commented on our YouTube page and left nice comments to counterbalance the dumb comments on our Joe Budden video, I would shout them out, but instead, I want to shout out to all you guys who are listening today, because you made it here today, and hopefully we'll make it to next week. Love to you all. As always, Jeff, not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys next week.